Having just done my 30th year of travels by train in Europe and just about as many videos, but in half that time on a summer, winter, update basis of my Euro travel secrets by train, some of the changes are really darn profound. They finally added the British Isles. You also have a second class availability for a global pass for adults above the age of 25. A very convenient site to obtain that is RailEurope. At the same time, you can also make the reservations for the mandatory reserved trains, and noted here is that you would want to do those at the same time so you avoid that handling charge. Yes, there is a bit of a currency surcharge, but it saves the convenience of those dreadful lines. In particular note, you also might avoid that peak load pricing in France. Specifically, Spanish and French trains do require reservations on almost all major trains. In Portugal, you have to do those in Portugal. Yes, you can also make a reservation to the north to Vigo. It's free. Better do it there. You also have international trains to France and to Madrid from Lisbon, and those can be made. In the case of France and Spain, you really need to do those in advance. In Italy, you can do those on the Train Italia site with no surcharge. That's recommended. In almost all the other cases, generally you don't have to worry about reservations. Notable exceptions, the Thalys train between Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, and Cologne. And you have the high-speed Swedish trains. And in the case of some Eastern European countries, those are recommended.
Came into Hamburg, Germany this time. Ich bin ein Hamburger. Instead of, say, Berlin or Frankfurt, both of which have terrible bus connections either within or to the airports. Again, you don't want to use up your rail validation for such a short journey as this. It happens to be green on this map. I made a timetable from cutting and pasting from the Bahn.de site, so I have an idea of the stops, the connections. I even color-coded them. Yeah, I included even smoking breaks. As I'm getting on my very first train journey, be reminded that you do need to validate your rail pass before mounting the train. You do that in the train station. And here I'm trying well, I'm going to call it a potato and Frankfurter soup. It's new to me. It actually is not bad on a cold winter day. As we come into Cologne, we're passing Deutz. That's the other stop for high-speed through service. When doing a search, drop the Hauptbahnhof.
Herren am Gleis 4, bitte steigen Sie ein.
I'm taking this ICE international train to Brussels. No reservations, even though the Euro planner says it's needed. By the way, this comes in two sections. It's going to be separated. You want to be on the right section because they're going to leave the other one behind. As we pass Brussels National Airport at Zaventem, we're again reminded on this international German non-reservation train we'll be making a stop at Brussels Nord, which is unlike the case of the expensive mandatory Thalys. Also be reminded for making changes not only convenient to the airport, you have the Diablo mandatory $5 supplement charge, which is not covered by the rail pass, but that Brussels North station is also convenient for going north, say to Antwerpen or Amsterdam. Here's the brand new Eurostar for Amsterdam service. So I'm going from Antwerpen, Anvers to Lille, and then on to Nantes in France. One of the possibilities is to make 3 changes, 3 supplements, 3 reservations, the expensive either be the Thalys or the international Belgian one. Instead, I'm going to Lille, Flanders, making the change there with a direct train Sundays only between Lille and Nantes. By the way, this TGV runs from Lille, Flanders, the regular station, instead of the high-speed RailEurope international TGV station. Here's a paper ticket, generally for travel with inside France or with inside Spain. Here's an electronic ticket. These are for travel between countries. Electronic tickets you download. The paper tickets require actual physical delivery before you leave. These generally have about 2, 3, 5% surcharge for currency conversion, plus an $18 fee for all of them together, which is worth it given sometimes the long lines. The exception is for trains in Italy, although the Tello is the one that does not honor the rail pass, but can be got on the Train Italia site if you do it way in advance. In France, the paper tickets still need to be endorsed by the stamper called compostage. Sometimes in Germany with the subway tickets, Werfen, and while not generally followed much, is still the rule in Italy. Here in Lille, France, the international high-speed station, RailEurope, is over there. That includes trains going to the UK, the Eurostar, and it's walkable to the Lille Flanders station for the normal trains, although they will be taking that special TGV to Nantes. You can actually take also the metro. It's valid if you have a ticket, although I'll be first to admit, having tried it twice, it is very confusing and not signed. Instead, I'd recommend just walking through the shopping center, although today it happens to be closed because it's a holiday. Here are two French tickets for the same kind of tarification. You'll note that the one I got in France, the bottom one is on stiffer stock, has a magnetic strip on the back so you can do some automatic stuff, is 10 euros. The top one is international format, has nothing on the back, and is $14 US. Well, you know, with the currency conversion, there's about $2 in there already. And remember, there is a fee if you do that through the RailEurope site. I'm here in France, in Nantes, maybe the nation's 5th, 6th largest city, going to Paris. And normally I would take the leisurely non-reservation with a stop in Tours with 2 trains. You'll see it listed on the right there. Gets me to Paris Austerlitz, which is normally where I want to go. This time I'm going to take the TGV. Yes, I got to pay the supplement charge. And it takes me to Montparnasse, which is, well, it doesn't connect with anything, has no commuter connections to any other station, has those horrible originally designed tunnels, but there is a leisurely bus from Montparnasse to Gare Lyon, which is where I do want to go. In my original booking on RailEurope, the train combinations I wanted to go from Paris to Brussels through Lille, that way avoiding all those extra surcharges and the expensive Thalys, that, well, the connection, I just wanted to make it a little bit better. I wanted the one that was 3 hours earlier, wasn't available. Went to this train station, the guichetière, if you will, and sure enough, was able to make the exchange from here an exemplar of another paper ticket to their magnetic strip one with no charge. Yeah, Gare de Lyon, if you want to go to Montparnasse, far better than the multiple stops on the subway. A little prettier, too, is the direct bus. It's the 91. As we move into a new year, do be reminded that the dates, if you have a leading 0, must be written down. And I guess about a year now, one of the things about the unique French ticket is your name is on there. Unlike, say, Italy, where they put the pass number. In France now they have gate control, much like you do at an airport. Even though the ticket says 2 minutes in advance, you might give it a lot more room. They have gate control also in Italy and Spain, done manually, and the major stations. Do note in Belgium they have weekend timetables and weekday timetables. The departures are in yellow. The weekends are here. The weekdays on the other side. I'm here at Brussels main train station, not to be confused with the central station. While being central is not main. It's called Midi, the French word for south associated with the Mediterranean, or Sud in Flemish Dutch. If you want to go downtown, you do take this metro. You used to board over here with a non-controlled tram. No longer. But you know what? I would suggest instead just getting on a train about every 5-7 minutes from here at Midi and going to the Brussels Central Station. Your rail pass is valid. Going from Brussels to Barcelona means I'll be changing in Lyon using these international PDF file paper tickets, which for security reasons you might want to print an extra copy. These happen to be in euros. By the way, it turns out the pricing on the Spanish-French trains is cheaper the closer you are to the border. I'll be taking the number 5 to Diagonal because, well, I'm late and my foot hurts, and we can take the train to Paseo de Gracia in the morning. Here at Barcelona at Paseo de Gracia, right here where the Gaudi building is, you can, well, you could take the metro, but instead you can take the Cercanía, that's what the Spanish call their commuter train, on Renfe. Although do note that the sign says ADIF, the administrative arm. Your rail pass is valid. If you're going from Barcelona Saints, look for the train direction Estau França. Here at Barcelona at Paseo de Gracia, right here where the Gaudi building is, you can, well, you could take the metro, but instead you can take the Cercanía, that's what the Spanish call their commuter train, on Renfe. Although do note that the sign says ADIF, the administrative arm. Your rail pass is valid. If you're going from Barcelona Saints, look for the train direction Estau França. Here at Barcelona Saints, like most major Spanish train stations, they have airplane type control done manually with baggage. Even though the ticket says 2 minutes, you might want to give it a lot more time. Further, they may have a line that says for rail pass. That means you got to have your pass out as well as the reservation. Today I'm going from Montpellier, France, a very interesting university town, to Nice, now called Niceville. Used to be a train ran all the way from Bordeaux to Nice. Now it only goes as far as Marseille, Saint-Charles, the main station. The reservation is required. Some inner cities do, some don't. You will note that if you look at your rail planner, or in this case I'm looking at the bond.de site showing compulsory reservation. The remaining portion from Marseille to Nice is, in this case, by TER, Train Express Régional. I'm not taking the TGV. There's nothing to be gained there because the TGV runs at the same speed as the ordinary trains along the portion from Marseille to Nice, and allows you the liberty of getting off and on at some intermediate stops, including not only Cannes, which is boring out of season, but let's say Antibes, Fréjus, Saint-Raphael, and even there you can maybe do a bus ride if you wanted to Saint-Tropez, for those of you who are très chic. These electronic signboards to locate the proper coach for you to be on are, well, they might be in these panels or on electronic signs along the side in black and yellow for the TGVs. And the Germans have Anzeige, which is a printed board. And in Italy they have them on single screens with one each. Here's our inner city train, formerly called the Corail. It's an old-timey train. Here's a map of the French inner city trains. The blue lines, no mandatory reservation. The green lines, yes, mandatory reservation. The purple lines, you got to sleep on those. They're night trains. I'm taking a Tello train between France and Italy. They've replaced the Artesia service. While it's still a cooperative between France and Italian railroads, they do not accept discounts for the rail pass, so it won't be making an entry. However, if you go to the site 60 days in advance, you can do this through Train Italia, you can get a discounted fare. It's called a smart fare, and it actually is cheaper than the previous rail pass discounted fares. Sometimes making a reservation beyond your contemplated stop makes sense if you want to have certain flexibility. Here I made it from Milan all the way to Rome
although I'm really contemplating a stop in Florence. Likewise, on the return, the train also stops again in Florence. Here, the supplement charge is the same. I did that also on a case of the international train, the Sud Express, the Portuguese train, which normally would not allow a stop inside Spain, but I did that, so it allowed me to make a change at Burgos to go to Vigo. This is the same surcharge in both cases, exception being, of course, those international trains between Spain and France, where the distance does increase the surcharge. Here in Bologna Centrale, the walking distance to the high-speed trains, kind of new, is absolutely probably one of the longest I've ever seen. It's like being in an airport. Allow about 7-8 minutes. Indicator right there for the coach. As we pass Florence Firenze Refreddi, the through station, we'll be going to the Darien terminal station, Santa Maria Novella. Likewise is the case in Rome Termini, Milano Centrale. The through stations, being faster, are often used by the private railroad Italo trains. Being private, your rail pass is not valid. So my restaurant was closed in Florence Firenze, and I went to the automatic machine and made the change. And nice thing about the Italian machines, it allows you to make the change with no charge automatically. Notice the new ticket is a little tiny stubby one. Here's an Italian ticket automat, the only one in Europe that lets you create or change a global pass reservation. And you'll have to put in the number on the rail pass. It's the upper computer number. You don't want to use the printer's larger number on the bottom, and no service fee. By the way, if you want to use the Austrian trains, the international ones coming to Italy, you want to go to the Austrian site, that's oebb.at. In Italy, your train pass is valid with reservations on the major trains on Trenitalia. For Italo trains, that's private, you're not valid. My next train I'm going to be going on is the Eurocity train to Germany. It's a relatively new train, and it goes through either one of the two high-speed tunnels in Switzerland. Interestingly, it does not show on the Trenitalia site for where I'm headed, which happens to actually be Mannheim, but instead I booked it all the way through for the same fare, all the way to Frankfurt. This handy board inside the train for departures, one of the things that's misleading is our Eurocity train to Germany, number 52, they only show the farthest Italian city, which in this case happens to be Domodossola. This train's probably one of my favorites. It's a former Cisalpino Eurocity train running here from Milan to the three major Swiss cities, Geneva, Genf, Baselia, Basel, and to Zurigo, Zurich. It runs through either two of the high-speed tunnels, and probably best service in terms of food and thus use. We're approaching this train next to us, which is Liria service, TGV Swiss service, has a very exorbitant surcharge. One can avoid it by changing in Bellegarde and then going to the next station over for Mulhouse if you like. It's actually almost worth it, and it has the same timings. An obligatory journey is one along the Rhine if in Germany. Of course, if you use your rail planner, you'll put in, say, Cologne, Köln, Frankfurt, Frankfurt-Main, the airport, Flughafen, the other cities, and you won't get it because it'll show the fastest route. Instead, you go to the little wheel on the choice, and then you go via and add maybe, say, Bonn or Koblenz. I'm here in Mannheim, Germany, where I'm reminded that a rule I developed when I was reviewing hotels is you don't want the one closest to the train station. I did a review of hotels, by the way, and they blocked it in Europe on the YouTubers. It says something about freedom of the press. Instead, you want to go a little bit farther down. Here in Mannheim happens to be the Ha Plus
Boy, you know, that's been reminded. This case of Antwerp and Anvers, in the case of Napoli, Montpellier, the one directly across from the train station, horrible experience, dreadful insulting service, with English speakers along with the Icelandics being some of the loudest people in the world. This is a quiet car. Here on this ticket automat in Germany, as the case in France, you can book your tickets, but still not with a rail pass. That's only done in Italy. And you can get train information. Not so much in Spain or Belgium. Here on this old-timey Austrian train, still have the yellow stripe on top, meaning first class. Unique to Germany and Austria are these timetables with connections, Fahrpläne if you will, Zugbegleiter, especially because you don't travel typically with reservations. They come in very handy. They're disappearing on the 4th generation German trains, but that's still relatively new. So today on this German train I'm trying a regular good one on a cold day, and that's the chili con carne. You can pay in cash bar Geld, and if you use your credit card, especially worried about those points, sometimes I find it's not registered as a restaurant, even though it's a restaurant on a train, because, you know, those restaurant points are better than the ordinary points. On German trains, while you can travel without a reservation, reservations are available, costing €450 in Germany. Oh, by the way, they're cheaper to do it through Austria. They're only $3. Therefore, when you see a reservation like this, I'll be happy to change place if a person shows up in Koblenz. Look for Gegenfrei. It's available. Here's an example of the German Anzeiger for where your coach is located. You'll also find them more generally in terms of class of service on the right-hand side of these displays. Found on German ICE high-speed trains, also in Portugal, rarely in Spain between Barcelona and Madrid, is your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, or as the Germans call it, WLAN. Today on the German train, I'm trying the fusilli bolognese. I'm going to be trying it with the credit card that has the restaurant points. See if those are recognized as such. I'll let you know as a footnote on the bottom of the video. In Northern Europe, where generally there's no need for reservations, except of course the Thalys train, Amsterdam, Cologne, Brussels, Paris, some of the German high-speed Sprinter, those are non-stop but very rare trains, the high-speed Swedish train among others. You can get train update with current live real-time departure information, especially from the German site bahn.de and the Austrian site oebb.at. Here it's not too severe. You'll see the revised times updated in green here. Boy, it was chaos a couple of days ago when the snow shut down in the south. There are apps actually for each and every railroad. Difference here is you're not downloading this, you just go to the internet. Pretty nifty. Sometimes you can get a later train that arrives earlier. Here's Czech Eurocity service, Berlin to Prague. No reservations needed. In Czech Republic, sometimes called Czechian now, they have something called Super City service, reservations required. Usually you don't gain that much. Similarly named, similar reasons apply to trains in Finland. This is the aptly named Warsaw Express. Notice the yellow stripe for first class service. Gotta have a reservation on this train, as is the case most trains in Poland. Here's a map of Berlin's S-Bahn. Your pass is valid on all S-Bahn trains in Germany. In Switzerland, they're even valid on the buses. In Denmark, your S-Toget, likewise. In France, it's a on-again, off-again on the RERs. Inside Paris, not the case. In Spain, they're called cercanías. Always your rail pass is valid. In Portugal, it's on-again, off-again, with their urbanos not being accepted in Lisbon past Sete Rios. Berlin's newer Hauptbahnhof main train station. far as I'm concerned, probably the largest I've ever seen in the world, with 4 different levels with tracks going every which way. It's okay. New stuff, they have a code on the front for the Dutch systems. It's a little bit shorter, use the page provided and you got to paste it in. And it's now second class for the Global Pass for the adults. Look for sales.